it's Dylan Friedoff back for another one of Dylan's projects. Today we're not actually doing a project. We're just going to be doing a summary of the Man Cave Garage. We've been working on it for a couple years now. Started with the foundation and moved through. So we're just going to take a tour around the garage to see where it is currently in the state it is. We'll actually go back in time, look at some photos, and I'll kind of explain how we got to where we are today. And then we'll kind of set things up moving forward. So when I do projects in the future, you'll be able to come along with me. So let's go. So this garage is 46 feet long by 28 feet wide. I did log siding on it to match the cabin down by the lake there. Yes, I know the color's a little on the light side, but it needs a few more coats that'll darken it up a lot, but it's good for now. Building your own garage is a tremendous amount of work. So some of you are probably looking at the door up there saying to yourself, that's a doozy of a step. Well, the reality is there will be a little porch that comes out, and then there'll be a staircase that will go down either to the right or left. I haven't really decided. I haven't really decided if it's going to be switchback or straight, but that's why that's there. The next question I get a lot is, why doesn't this dormer have a window? Well, the reality is that's probably going to be a bathroom upstairs someday, so we'll leave it the way it is in case that happens. On my last project, I filled in a bunch of dirt here, but they had a tremendous storm. You can see in the last month, the rainwater coming off the roof line has guttered all the way down here. I imagine I'll probably have to put some gutters on there to hold that from happening again. I also had some insulation along the foundation here. The dirt really didn't pile up to it much, and the storm took the panels, and I have no idea where they are. They could be 10 miles away in the next county over. And here's the rock retaining wall that I was building in our last episode. The storm somehow knocked it over, and it kind of fell apart there. So this wall is just a big blank wall. Electrical service coming in here, also a gas line coming in from my gas tank right there. So there's two trunks that come off of that. One goes all the way down and feeds the cabin. The other one comes back and feeds the garage here. I'll probably use that to do an overhead heater, maybe an infrared heater. When I had the garage built, I had coils put into the floor, and they come up through the cement floor over here. So you can see, I'll probably have a heating manifold where that propane comes to, heat the water up, pump it through the floor, heat the floor up. It'll be nice for the snowmobiles or cars that are all full of snow because I can melt it off. And then there's a floor drain in the floor right over here. So there's the door outside to get to the upstairs area. I also put an attic staircase in. That attic staircase is really my main way of getting up there. So let's go up there and look around. And yes, if any of you have any questions about the Atari Gauntlet Legends game over there, that will be a project for another day. I hope to either get the original working or put a MAME insides in it, but that'll be a fun project. So like and subscribe so you can be here when we work on that. All right. So now we're upstairs. Nice little area. Nice arched window at the end. Here's that door that I was showing you from the outside. So I'm just kind of slowly working on it, putting insulation in the walls. I'm putting chutes so that I can have spray foam sprayed on the back side of these walls here. And here's the overlook down into the sport court area. No railing, so I suggest you guys don't go any further. Let's bob back to the computer and we'll kind of go through some pictures and look how we got to this particular place. See you in a sec.
If you look in the picture, you can see the orange tipped stakes. That's where I chose to put my garage, up the hill on a flat spot right next to my neighbor's garage. I worked with a local concrete contractor and I gave him the rough dimensions and it was about $17,000 for him to pour the foundation and also bury a propane tank next to it to use for heating at a later time. When my $15,000 order of all the building material to close in the garage came, I got right to work. I cut 12-foot 2x4s into two 6-footers for the uphill side, and then I cut off 10-footers so they fit perfectly with the top plates so that there would be no wasted sheathing. Once I had all the walls built, I went around and added Force Shield OSB to give it some stability, give it some squareness. Then my father-in-law brought his skid steer out with a homemade boom on it, and we lifted and started putting trusses in place. Here's a look at the driveway entrance, and also all the trusses are in place with the gaps for the dormers that are going into those parts of the truss. Here's a side view of the trusses and the openings for the dormers. The right third dormer is actually going to be a facade built on later. At this stage, I put some sheeting on the roof just to make it a lot more stable. And then I built my first dormer. This kind of gave me an idea of the height and the dimensions for the other dormers moving forward. Since I've only working on this on weekends, the project was over a month old and the elements had really been hard on the wood structure itself. So at this point I started shingling up the sheathing as far as I could get. I found that building dormers was a lot like building sheds. So as I finished the east side dormers and started around the west side dormers, it was really taking a long time because each one of these were individual houses with the roof line all to themselves. One of the greatest things about getting all the sheathing on the roof was I actually had a nice shaded area to do my cutting and pre-assembly of different parts. I shingled the entire roof, and I gotta say that it was one of the more miserable parts of it. The roughness of the shingles cut up my hands and my knees. The angle, 40-degree angle of the roof made it very hard to climb up onto and just work. The dormers added a lot of extra cutting and angles and also peaks. So I had 7 different peaks that I had to go over and cover. As fall came in, it was really nice to have the entire garage covered in. All the shingles were on, all the sheathing was on. My garage door still wasn't on, but at least it was going to weather pretty nice all winter. The first thing on the agenda next spring was to get the concrete floor poured. The one thing that I wish I would have been involved in is how they set up the drain. They kind of put it centered where I wanted to do a workshop on one side and I really didn't want the pitch that close. I would suggest anybody doing this be involved. If you can be around to point out things as they're laying out the floor, that's just going to help everybody be happier at the end. With the concrete poured on the main floor, it was time to move upstairs. When I bought the trusses, these were attic-in trusses. So at this point, I was able to start laying the sheathing for the floor. And it was a little complex to do because of the dormers, but I had to get crafty with going multiple directions with the sheathing. It was really nice to get all the floor sheathing done so I can move out upstairs and not have to worry about a misstep that would send me to my death. So I came to the conclusion of my second building season with a really nice closed-in garage with a concrete floor and a garage door that allowed me to start storing things and having a place in the spring or in the fall to actually be able to work on different items. So in the spring of the following year, I received a $5,000 order of log siding, and we started putting it up when it was still fairly cold outside, but boy was it nice to finally, after 2 years, be putting on finishing touches for the neighbors so they didn't have to look at the eyesore. It sure was nice doing the side walls where there were no windows and all the cuts were square. I could go up these walls very quickly. So this is the part of the project where I started transitioning from taking weekly photographs to actually taking videos. And I'll put a card up in the corner here so that you guys can see and follow all the steps that I did to take and do the siding around all the dormers. So on parting, I'll leave you with some drone shots and also some close-ups of what it looks like now that it's fully done. This has been an excellent project. I couldn't be happier with how it has turned out. I've had it to use now for over a year, and it's really been nice to have the storage space and the working room to get things done, because with lots of toys, it requires a lot of projects to fix them. So to this point, I have about $50,000 of money invested into building this, and innumerable hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours of my own time into it. But if you put your mind to it and just take small bites, it doesn't take long before your vision and your hard work turns into something that you can really be proud of. Highly suggest, if anybody ever has the opportunity to do this, do it, because there's a sense of self-satisfaction that you just can't get any way else in life. Make sure to like and subscribe, and follow the videos on this garage, and we'll catch you next time.